I had a conversation with one of our members this week that was quite insightful. Now, having set an appointment with me to discuss the subject of this constitutional amendment, they also asked if I could send them a copy of the church's constitution, which I quickly sent to them. Now, what happened next was really cool. They found that after reading the Constitution, many of their questions, both from past inquiries and those that they presently had been answered. Now, we don't have time to go through the totality of the Constitution here. After all, it is a big boy sitting at 10,617 words or 22 pages. But I want to share a few notable items to set some context for our discussion. Now, as many of you may know, for most of the life of Sunrise, ministries here in the Constitution called essential or necessary ministries have been led by elected ministry teams. Now, typically we know them as the CE or Christian Education Team, Fellowship, Worship, Missions, and Buildings and Ground teams. And these teams are typically nominated. They're then approved by the church board, and then they're sent to the church to be elected on or be confirmed by a vote by the church membership at our annual church meeting. Now, these ministry teams were initially formed for the purpose of assisting the church board in the execution of the necessary ministries. The Constitution literally reads, "The church board may select to designate any of the necessary ministries under the supervision of a board of elected members." The key word here being may. The Constitution offers the ruling body, that is the church board, the ability to form such teams for the execution of the necessary ministries. Now, what I'm requesting in this amendment is an alternative to this option. Please note, this does not eliminate the team option from the Constitution, but yet gives another option. And also please understand that my goal here is not to upset people. It's not to grab more power or just randomly wreck things. My goal is to see the purpose, mission, and vision that I believe that God has called Sunrise to be accomplished more effectively and efficiently. In my years of leadership, both in the public sector and in professional ministry, I've seen many ways to accomplish goal. And in my experience, a team of equal peers, as we see represented in the ministry team model, is among the most inefficient ways to accomplish any task. I mean, after all, there's a reason why most of us think back to our days at school and cringe at the memories of group projects. So why is this? Why do we not like working in random groups? Well, generally, we didn't get to pick our teammates. They were chosen for us. We could get stuck with that person, and that person that was not really interested in helping us, or maybe there was the question of who was leading the group. The roles were completely unclear. Maybe communication was abysmal. Questions of who would follow through with what just continued. Or maybe you had the joy or the experience of being that lone person who had to accomplish all the work for the group with no assistance. And better yet, you had to suffer because others failed to fulfill their portion of the assigned tasks and your grades suffered. Now, I recognize that you may have been on some amazing teams in the past, including here at Sunrise. But the point is that randomized teams like this often suffer from inefficiency at best and complete ineffectiveness at worst. Please understand something. Everything that I have described about school group projects, I've heard examples of this from our various members of our ministry teams here at Sunrise over the years. Whether that be communication being abysmal, whether that be in roles being unclear, and then example after example after example. Now, with all that said, we must remember why we exist as a church. We do not exist to build bureaucracies, rather we exist for the purpose of loving God and loving people. And we accomplish this by living the truth, loving the lost, and making disciples regardless the cost. And in turn, this builds the kingdom. We live in a world that is rapidly changing, which requires that leadership be able to respond in rapid fashion. This requires efficiency, it requires effectiveness, it requires consistent, effective communication of our purpose, of our mission, of our vision. And I firmly believe that this can best be accomplished by director-led ministries. Now, in addition, this model allows us to be more flexible with the rapidly changing world that is around us. You might be asking, well, how is that? How is that possible? Well, let's look at an example. Let's say that we lose someone off of one of our current ministry teams. to a move. Now, in order to fill that slot, we need a candidate. That candidate then needs the approval of the senior pastor and the church board. Then we have to have a business meeting, but we need a minimum of 2 weeks advance notice before we can call a business meeting, and that's at best. For a director in the same situation, we need a candidate from the senior pastor that they recommend to the board who approves, and then we introduce the director in that position. In addition, the director model provides clear leadership roles. The director is the clear leader of their team. In our current ministry situation, everyone on the team is an equal, and there is not necessarily a distinct leader. We also see more effective communication. Within the current model, the church board makes a decision which is communicated through a board liaison to the ministry team, which generally they have a meeting monthly, but sometimes it's bi-monthly, and sometimes longer. Now, follow-up requires a liaison to then communicate to the church board at their next meeting, which is also monthly. In the director-led model, there's one-on-one communication between the senior pastor and the director, allowing for fewer lost in translation moments and overall faster and more effective communication. But then we look at change. Think back to the school group project model. If you had someone or multiple someones who were not pulling their weight or were being ineffective and you had an opportunity to replace them, would you if you could? Under our current model, if we have a team or team members who are ineffective, we have no way of replacing them until their 2-year term is finished, unless they resign. Meaning a ministry team might have to suffer for a considerable period of time before things can be made better. Now, in my experience, this has led other effective team members to become frustrated, to grow weary, to lose heart, and at times choosing not to renew for another term. Now, by contrast, in the director model, the senior pastor has the ability to remove and replace directors as needed. Now, this may seem harsh, but remember our goal here is to fulfill the purpose, the mission, and the vision that the church has been called to. We've been called to the Great Commission. We've not been called to the good or the passable commission. And I pray that this becomes the heartbeat of us all, but most especially those who are in positions of leadership. Now, if you have any specific questions moving forward, please do not hesitate to email me on the address on the screen. God bless you all, and we'll see you on Sunday.